The time has come, the time is here. Storm Issue 1 has arrived. Written by Murewa Ayodele with art from Lucas Wernick and me to go over each and every issue for you and with you. But before we dive into the issue, I have an exciting announcement to make because this video is sponsored by your boy and his very own comic book, Bond of the Blade. Bond of the Blade Issue 1 is a 40-page, full-color action comic that blends 90s shonen manga style with street-level heroics, martial arts, and fantastical superpowers. Follow Terry, Michaela, and Will as they navigate adulthood by day, but by night they are Shen, Chant, and Vice, the heretics, defending Union City's soul against the criminal underworld and the dark forces of evil, empowered by their guardian angel, Ashira. As a lifelong Storm lover, creating a character like Ashira was inevitable. A strong matriarch with mystic and divine powers, but one who could be just as much of a nurturer as she was a warrior. So if that interests you, then head to the description for a link to the Kickstarter page. The war for Union City's soul has begun. So back, Bond of the Blade, issue number 1. Once worshipped as a goddess for her mutant ability to control the weather, Ororo Monroe has been a warrior, a queen, an X-Man, and now an Avenger. Whatever her role, Ororo has always used her incredible powers to protect the planet and all its denizens. She is Earth's mightiest mutant. She is Storm. I love how every Storm-focused comic book, whether it's a single issue, a mini-series, or a full-blown series, just has to go over how many things she's been, because it really is insane how many hats she's worn, which is fitting since we opened this issue with Storm picking out her outfit. She stands at the base of a winding stairwell, adorned in a regal purple nightgown and head wrap, as she cycles through different looks that she's worn in the past. Her classic Weather Witch, her gold team leader bodysuit, her mohawk and punk rock look, everything from the goddess of thunder to the regent of Ororo. But on this day, she's gonna don a new outfit, one that she will wear out to address the world, not merely as an X-Man or an Avenger or even a mutant, but as Earth's official protector. She does this all from the comfort of her sanctuary that she will soon open up to all the peoples of the world to seek refuge and to be inspired. But the real question of the hour is, can she inspire people? All of this is happening after the fall of Krakoa, a multi-world event that has redefined what it means to be a mutant in Marvel. The hot spotlight is on Storm's kind, and not in a good way. But if anyone could inspire hope to the masses, it'd be Ororo. Storm exits her sanctuary wearing her new outfit, designed by the impeccable Lucas Wernick. I have to break down just how dope this is, from the ever-expanding fluffy cloud hair, which looks both soft and fierce, to the regal African neck rings with her maternal red ruby adorning the center. The way her cape flows off of her effortlessly is something that I honestly can never get enough of. Her toned midriff exposed, with lightning bolts adorning her waist, leading down to the leggings that go on forever. This look is a good bit simpler than her previous outfit, which did have some things in common, like the neck rings and exposed midriff. And some aspects, like the lightning bolts on the sides of her head, are even bigger and more prominent. But overall, there's less going on here, and I appreciate that. There's less going on overall, but that just allows the outfit to make an even more powerful statement. Storm makes her way across the sanctuary on a walkway situated above African flora, fauna, and wildlife. She's come a long way from living in the attic in the X-Mansion, that's for sure. Since the fall of the mutant nation of Krakoa, an instance of mutant acceptance has never been this high, owing largely to the heroic actions of Storm in Oklahoma City. It is not a stretch of the imagination to assume that Ororo Monroe will strike while the iron is hot and capitalize on this great opportunity to announce her much-rumored interest in running for Congress. Storm walks out to a podium and is instantly bombarded with camera flashes. The entire world waits for her next word. But how did we even get here? To answer that question, let's rewind the clock to 7 days ago, back in Oklahoma City, during a disaster of nuclear proportions. A nuclear power plant has exploded, and in the blink of an eye, this peaceful city is being eradicated. Storm flies in with fellow mutant and X-Men, Frenzy, and after a short recon flight, the two make their heroic landing. The devastation that this area has suffered is apocalyptic, but there's no time to be taken aback by the sights. There's work to do and lives to save. I love how Storm's first feat in this series isn't her fighting, it's her using her powers to intervene and save lives. As I've said numerous times on this channel, you cannot put Storm in a box that simply marvels at how big she can make things go boom. Ultimately, if she's not saving people, she's not Storm. Storm and Frenzy still have no idea what's going on. They just know that the streets are eerily clear. But soon their questions are answered in the form of a massive shockwave, one which Storm wastes no time getting under control. Storm counters the shockwave with a massive wall of wind, holding the energy at bay, and then immediately tends to the civilians trapped underneath the rubble that was once their homes. The narration highlights this moment and how it's painfully similar to the conditions that rendered Storm an orphan, so she refuses to let the same happen to anyone else. She and Frenzy continue to tend to the citizens. Frenzy stops just for a moment when she uncovers an Orcus agent among the rubble, but Storm quickly gets things under control and reminds Frenzy that they're there to save everyone. The rescue efforts continue, with Storm front and center, large in the middle of the page, cradling an adorable little child. And I just love this image right here. This is peak Storm. As much as I love seeing the phenomenal cosmic powers, there's just something about seeing Storm cradle children. I've referenced similar pages before, and I love this one just as much. Also, I have to point out the phenomenal page and panel layout that Wernick is using here. He's not wasting a single inch on these pages. It's not too much, and it damn sure isn't lacking. We get a good mixture here of the splash page, with Frenzy and Storm helping various people of all ages, sizes, and colors. Even got a little dog being saved, ain't that cute? But this touching scene is soon interrupted as another shockwave threatens every life that they've just saved. When two waves, exactly the same yet opposing, fold into each other, they both cease to exist. For every approaching shockwave, Storm shudders the air molecules around her with such precision that the advancing threat is nullified. Gotta love those descriptions. But Storm's flexing isn't gonna last very long, as concealed within this shockwave is a sharpened tree branch that lodges itself deep into Storm's shoulder. So in the middle of this godly, motherly flex, she gets stabbed. And by a tree branch. I love this because that's nature. I love it. It's showing that she's vulnerable. Even though she is phenomenal, cosmic, omega level threat detected, she's still very much human. But she is not gonna let her humanity, her mortality, slow her down. And so she disappears, traveling in a bolt of lightning, completely ignoring the wound that she just sustained. As she gets closer to the source of the blast, she notices all the devastation to the environment. The downed trees, the skeletal remains of animals, the raging waters, and the nuclear winter. And she can't help but feel a sense of disgust and shame that this man-made monument of convenience has caused such destruction. At least, that's what she thinks, until another blast emits. Frenzy uses her own power of the thunderclap to dispel it. Storm's body is growing ever weaker as she gets closer to the source of the blast. Radiation poisoning begins to sink in. She grabs the crumpled remains of a plant door to use as a shield as she draws closer to the glow. She does not fear death, nor whatever awaits her inside, but that doesn't mean she's not taken by surprise when she finds the source is a child whose powers have begun to emerge uncontrollably, resulting in the deaths of everyone who was in the facility. The poor child begs for Storm to take him out of his misery, as he is well aware of the death and devastation that he is causing. But Storm isn't like that. She never has been and she never will be. Instead, she uses empathy. She understands what this is like. Every mutant does. The day when their powers are born and make themselves known to the world, usually in a way that they cannot control or even understand. And for someone whose powers can be as explosive and destructive as Storm's, she knows all too well what happens when your powers go awry. So she embraces the child, telling him that enough lives have been lost today. 3 days pass and the world reacts to this event. But already, we see that a certain narrative is being pushed in the media. Instead of telling the truth, this is all being blamed on a piece of alien tech that was being used by the government. People from various backgrounds weigh in, voicing their frustration and their anger, with some people even weaving in jabs against mutants, even though the problem, according to the news, is alien technology. Bigots will always find a way to make their bigotry known. Cut to Iron Man and Storm, running tests on this so-called alien tech that caused the event. Tony has run hundreds of millions of tests to see if this were possibly at the root of the problem, using his own tech, as well as that designed by the likes of Reed Richards, Lunella Lafayette, Forge, Riri Williams, and Shuri, to come to a conclusion that Storm already knew. But this lie actually put Storm in a difficult position. Seeing as how she and Frenzy just basically saved the entirety of Oklahoma City from complete destruction, mutants are being praised for the first time in a long time. But that praise can quickly grow into condemnation and hatred at the hands of angry mobs if the truth were to get out. But she knows at her core that that's wrong, as the very scientists who lost their life in this accident are being blamed for now introducing deadly alien tech to the world, and she does not want to dishonor the deceased. Like Tony says, she has a call to make, and the clock is ticking. Cut back to the present day. Ororo is addressing the crowd, and her time is growing even shorter, as every breath she takes brings up a cough of blood. But she carries on, because she is Storm, mistress of the elements, a member of the brave X-Men, and a new member of the mighty Avengers. She loves and respects her teammates, and is happy to be a part of their goals and values. But now the time has come for her to establish her own goals and values. To that end, she opens up her sanctuary to all peoples of the earth. Humans, mutants, sorcerers, and even gods. Anyone who needs a place of solace or refuge can call her sanctuary in the sky her home. She follows that up immediately with a very sobering truth, and she decides to tell the world the real source of the Oklahoma disaster. It wasn't alien tech, it was a mutant whose powers had awakened. The crowd turns on Storm, and her families on multiple teams are helpless. All they can do is watch and listen as their beloved Weather Witch is abandoned by the crowd that was once cheering her on. We're seeing Ororo be taken through the ringers on her first romp out in a long time. And while I appreciate it, because it's only going to lead to her reaching higher heights, it doesn't make it any easier to read. But the final page does, because God appears. Beyond our planet, our solar system, our universe, another watches with unquestionable intent of the cosmos. I am eternity, the beginning with no end, and I have found you worthy, Ororo Monroe. To me, my eternal Storm. So you mean to tell me that Storm is nearly fatally wounded, actually gets deathly ill, pisses off all of humanity, and she's rewarded by God showing up and say, "Hey girl, I see you. Why don't you come up here and party with your boy?" Oh, this series is gonna be so good! The ritual markings on her face, the fact that she's literally glowing, her OG tiara, her crown returns, and her outfit goes from black to white, signaling that she is now among the divine. Anybody who gives y'all shit about us calling Storm a goddess, just have them read this book. Just have them read this book. But if you think that that means that the series going forward is going to be a cakewalk, Oh no. Our man Ayodele is not gonna cheapen this experience like that. Because this is the synopsis of the next issue. Storm is dying. An unknown form of radiation poisoning from the Oklahoma incident has turned her cells into ticking time bombs. As her final hours count down, will she find a cure for her illness at Night Nurse's superhero hospital? Or will it require enchantments from Dr. Voodoo to save her life? The fact that this man, this absolute mad lad of a writer we have, chose him of all people to bring into this series, it just shows me that if you are not on board for this shit, you need to get your ass on board. Buy your ass a ticket and a seat. Matter of fact, buy the book. I bought my own copy. Y'all need to buy another copy. For the love of everything that is holy, buy this book. I will be continuing these breakdowns and these synopses as the books come out. I can't wait to do the next one. But by all means, y'all, tell me what you think in the comments. Let's have us a conversation in the comments. And if you want to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life, then click this video right here. And until next time, keep simping.